The underestimated species, Commander Sarah. Chen adjusted her worn uniform as she walked through the gleaming corridors of Nexus 7, the galaxy's largest trade station. The metal floors beneath her boots were polished to perfection, reflecting the advanced lighting systems that the Velthari had installed. Everything here screamed superiority, from the towering crystalline walls to the floating transport platforms that glided silently overhead. Sarah had been Earth's trade representative for 3 years now, and every single day reminded her of humanity's place in the galactic hierarchy. They were at the bottom, barely tolerated, often mocked. The other species saw humans as young, primitive, and frankly amusing in their attempts to be taken seriously. She passed a group of Velthari diplomats, their tall, silver bodies gleaming under the station lights. Their elongated heads turned slightly as she walked by, and she caught fragments of their conversation in their melodic language. She didn't need a translator to know they were discussing the amusing little humans again. The docking bay assignment board confirmed what Sarah already knew. Docking bay 847, the furthest possible location from the central hub in a section of the station that barely had proper life support. Meanwhile, the Zephyrian Empire had been assigned the premium spots near the council chambers, and the Crystalline Confederation had taken the luxury bays with their own private transport tubes. Dr. Marcus Webb was waiting for her in their makeshift office, a cramped space that had probably been a storage closet before they arrived. His sandy hair was messy as usual, and his thick glasses reflected the data streaming across his portable workstation. Marcus was Earth's chief scientist on the station, though most alien species wouldn't even acknowledge his credentials. "Sarah, you need to see this," Marcus said, without looking up from his screens. His fingers danced across the holographic interface, pulling up readings that made little sense to her military-trained mind. More alien tech that we're not allowed to study? Sarah asked, settling into the uncomfortable metal chair beside him. Worse than that. I've been monitoring the station's automated systems, and something's wrong. Really wrong. Marcus finally looked at her, his eyes filled with concern. The ancient defense protocols are activating. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Every species in the galaxy knew the stories about Nexus 7's original builders, a race so advanced that their automated systems still functioned perfectly after millions of years. Those same systems had been dormant since the station was discovered, but the mere thought of them awakening sent fear through every civilization. "Are you sure?" Sarah asked, leaning forward to study the data Marcus was showing her. "Look at these energy readings. The power core is drawing energy in patterns I've never seen before. And there's something else. The station's AI is trying to communicate, but not in any language our computers can translate." Before Sarah could respond, the lights in their office flickered. Throughout the station, a deep humming sound began to resonate through the walls. It was subtle at first, like the vibration of massive machinery starting up after a long sleep. Captain Elena Vasquez burst through their office door, her security uniform still bearing scorch marks from a training exercise. Elena was tough as nails, a former Marine who had volunteered for the dangerous job of keeping humans safe on an alien station where they were barely welcome. "Commander, we've got problems," Elena said, slightly out of breath. "The main council chamber just sealed itself. No one can get in or out, and the alien security forces are in full panic mode." The 3 humans looked at each other, understanding passing between them without words. This wasn't just a technical malfunction. This was the beginning of something much larger and more dangerous. The humming grew louder, and suddenly the wall screens throughout their office activated. Instead of the usual trade information and station announcements, they showed a symbol none of them had ever seen before, a complex geometric pattern that seemed to shift and change as they watched it. "The defense grid is online," Marcus whispered, his face pale as he read the energy signatures on his instruments. "Sarah, whatever built this station left behind weapons that could destroy entire fleets." Through the office's small window, they could see other species ships trying to leave the station. The massive Zephyrian battlecruisers were firing up, their engines, their hulls gleaming as they prepared for emergency departure. The crystalline Confederation's geometric vessels were already moving away from the docking bays, their advanced propulsion systems creating beautiful light trails. In space? But something was wrong. The ships weren't moving fast enough. Energy fields were forming around the station, trapping everything within a massive, invisible cage. Sarah activated her communicator, trying to reach the other human personnel scattered throughout the station. Static filled the channel for a moment before voices began filtering through. "Commander, this is Lieutenant Torres in Engineering Bay 12. The aliens are evacuating all non-essential personnel, but they're not telling us humans anything. What are our orders?" "Stay calm and stay together," Sarah replied. "Find the other humans and establish communication. We need to know what we're dealing with." Alina was already moving toward their weapons locker, such as it was. Humans weren't allowed heavy weapons on the station, but they had managed to acquire some basic defensive equipment through creative trading. "The Velthari Council is meeting in emergency session," Omega Alina reported, scanning the station's internal communications. "They're trying to access the ancient control systems, but their technology isn't compatible." Marcus looked up from his workstation, his expression grim but determined. "Sarah, I think I know why their tech isn't working. The defense systems aren't responding to technological interfaces. They're looking for something else." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. "Pattern recognition. Creative problem solving. The symbols we're seeing, they're not just warnings or commands. They're puzzles, tests. The original builders left behind a system that can only be operated by species capable of lateral thinking." The implications hit Sarah immediately. Most of the advanced alien species in the galaxy had evolved beyond what humans would consider creative thinking. Their technology was so sophisticated that they relied on computational solutions for everything. They had become logical, efficient, and completely unable to think outside the box. But humans were different. Humans were messy, creative, and unpredictable. They solved problems by trying things that shouldn't work but somehow did. They made intuitive leaps that confounded more advanced species. The station shuddered around them, and through the window they could see energy weapons powering up on the exterior hull. Ancient turrets were emerging from hidden compartments, their designs unlike anything in current galactic technology. "Commander Chen, this is Ziktar of the Velthari Council," came a transmission on the emergency channel. Ziktar's voice held the usual condescending tone he used when speaking to humans, but now there was an edge of desperation. "We require your species to evacuate immediately. This situation is beyond your comprehension." Sarah looked at Marcus and Alina, seeing determination reflected in their faces. For 3 years, they had been dismissed, ignored, and treated like children by the galactic community. But now, for the first time, they might be exactly what was needed. "Negative, Counselor Ziktar," Sarah replied calmly. "Humanity will remain on station and assist in resolving this crisis. Foolish creatures, Siktar's response crackled through the static. Your primitive technology cannot help where our advanced systems have failed. But as Sarah looked at Marcus's readings and Elena's tactical assessments, she began to see something the aliens couldn't. The defense system wasn't just randomly activating, it was testing everyone on the station, looking for something specific. And based on the patterns Marcus was identifying, it was looking for exactly the kind of minds that other species had dismissed as primitive and chaotic. The station shuddered again, more violently this time. Whatever was happening, they were running out of time. The ancient systems were building towards something, and if they didn't figure out how to communicate with them soon, everyone on Nexus 7 would face consequences that no amount of advanced alien technology could prevent. Sarah stood up, her mind already working on solutions that would have made her alien counterparts shake their heads in disbelief. It was time for humanity to stop being the joke of the galaxy. It was time to show everyone what humans could really do when the stakes were highest and conventional solutions had failed. Marcus, I need everything you can tell me about those symbols. Elena, gather our people and prepare for the possibility that we're going to have to save everyone on this station. As alarms began blaring throughout Nexus 7, and the most advanced species in the galaxy scrambled helplessly with their failing technology. 3 humans in a converted storage closet began to plan humanity's most important moment in galactic history. The universe was about to learn that sometimes the most primitive approach was exactly what was needed to solve the most advanced problems. Humanity's ingenious rise, the ancient symbols on the wall screens were changing faster now, their geometric patterns shifting like a living kaleidoscope. Marcus had been staring at them for 2 hours, his eyes red from strain, but something was finally starting to make sense. Sarah, look at this, Marcus called out, his voice filled with excitement despite their dire situation. The symbols aren't random, they're following emotional patterns. Commander Sarah Chen moved closer to Marcus's workstation, where he had overlaid the symbol sequences with human psychological models. Around them, the station continued to shake as more defensive systems came online, and the trapped alien fleets outside were growing increasingly desperate. What do you mean, emotional patterns? Sarah asked. Each symbol represents not just information, but feeling. Joy, curiosity, determination, fear. The ancient builders didn't just create a logical defense system, they created something that responds to consciousness itself, to the way different species think and feel. Captain Elena Vasquez returned from her scouting mission, her face grim but determined. The situation outside is getting worse. The Zephyrian battle fleet tried to break through the energy barrier and got thrown back like toys. 3 of their ships are badly damaged. The Crystalline Confederation is attempting to use their quantum processors to crack the system. But every time they try, the defenses get stronger. Sarah nodded, processing the information. Through their small office window, she could see the magnificent alien vessels helplessly trapped, their advanced technology useless against systems that operated on completely different principles. How many humans do we have on the station? Sarah asked. 47 total, Elena reported. Engineers, scientists, traders, and security personnel. Most of the aliens have retreated to their secured sections, but our people are scattered throughout the station. Marcus suddenly straightened up, his eyes wide with realization. Sarah, I think I understand what's happening. The defense system isn't trying to destroy anyone. It's testing us, all of us. The original builders created a system that would only respond to species capable of genuine creativity and emotional intelligence. And the other species? Sarah asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. Their technology has made them incredibly advanced, but also incredibly rigid. They solve problems through computation and logical processes. But this system needs something else. It needs intuition, creativity, and the ability to think in ways that don't follow predetermined patterns. The communicator crackled to life again, and Zigdar's voice filled their small office, now completely stripped of its usual arrogance. Human Commander Chen, our situation has become desperate. The defense grid is preparing to activate weapons that could sterilize this entire sector of space. We have attempted every technological solution in our databases. We request your assistance. Sarah looked at Marcus and Alina, seeing her own determination reflected in their faces. This was the moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Dr. Webb, what do you need to interface with the system? Sarah asked. Direct physical contact with the central control node. But Sarah, it's in the most heavily defended part of the station. The automated guardians are active there, and they've already repelled 3 alien assault teams. Alina stepped forward, checking her equipment. Then we do this the human way. We don't fight the guardians, we talk to them. Talk to them. Marcus looked puzzled. Think about it, Sarah said, Marcus's insights suddenly clicking into place. If the system responds to emotion and creativity, then the guardians aren't just security programs. They're extensions of the same consciousness that built this station. They're lonely. The idea was so simple, so completely human in its approach, that none of the advanced alien species would have ever considered it. Instead of trying to defeat or bypass the guardians, they would try to understand them. Within an hour, Sarah had assembled a team of 12 humans, each chosen for their different strengths. There was Lieutenant Torres from engineering, who could jury-rig solutions from spare parts. Dr. Patricia Kim, a xenic psychologist who studied alien behavior. Sergeant Miller, a former combat medic who had a talent for keeping people calm under pressure. They made their way through the station corridors, past alien security teams huddled in defensive positions. The closer they got to the central core, the more active the ancient systems became. Lights flickered in complex patterns, and the walls themselves seemed to hum with energy. The symbols are getting more complex, Marcus observed, studying his portable scanner, but also more welcoming. I think the system recognizes what we're trying to do. They reached the entrance to the central core, a massive circular door covered in the same shifting symbols they had been seeing throughout the station. But instead of trying to force it open or hack its systems, Sarah did something that no alien species would have thought to try. She placed her hand on the door and spoke directly to it. We know you're scared, Sarah said softly. You've been alone for millions of years, and now you're surrounded by species that can't understand you. But we're here to help. We want to understand what you need. The door shimmered, its surface rippling like liquid metal. Slowly, almost hesitantly, it began to open. The central core was breathtaking, a vast spherical chamber filled with flowing energy patterns that looked more like art than technology. At the center, suspended in a web of light, was a crystalline structure that pulsed with the rhythm of a heartbeat. My God, whispered Dr. Kim, it's not just a computer, it's alive. Marcus approached the central crystal carefully, his instruments detecting energy patterns unlike anything in known science. Sarah, this isn't just ancient technology. This is a preserved consciousness. the last member of the species that built this station. The implications were staggering. The defense system hadn't been randomly activating. It was the death throes of an ancient being trying to communicate with anyone who might understand its loneliness and fear. Alina positioned her team around the chamber's perimeter, but instead of taking defensive positions, she had them sit down and remove their helmets. If we're going to make contact with a living consciousness, we do it as humans, open and vulnerable. Sarah approached the central crystal, feeling its energy wash over her. Instead of the cold calculation she expected from advanced technology, she felt warmth, curiosity, and a desperate desire for connection. "Hello," Sarah said simply. "We're humans. We're young and clumsy, and we make a lot of mistakes. But we're here, and we're listening." The chamber filled with light, and suddenly, Sarah's mind was flooded with images. She saw the rise and fall of the ancient civilization, a species that had achieved technological perfection but had lost something essential in the process. They had become so advanced that they had forgotten how to dream, how to create something beautiful for its own sake, how to find joy in simple connections with others. In their final years, they had built this station as a test, hoping that someday a species would evolve that combined technological capability with the emotional depth they had lost. They were looking for a species that could teach them how to feel again. Marcus, Sarah gasped, still connected to the ancient consciousness. "It wants to learn from us." All this time, the advanced species have been trying to access its technology, but it doesn't want to give them technology. It wants to give them wisdom. Marcus placed his hands on the crystal beside Sarah and immediately understood. The ancient defense system wasn't just protecting the station. It was protecting a gift, a repository of knowledge that could only be unlocked by a species capable of both scientific advancement and emotional growth. Over the next several hours, the human team worked with the ancient consciousness, not to shut down its systems, but to help it find peace. They shared human music, human poetry, human stories of love and loss and hope. In return, the ancient being shared knowledge that transformed their understanding of the universe. When the energy barriers around the station finally dissolved, the alien fleets found something they had never expected. The humans hadn't just solved the crisis. They had formed a partnership with the most advanced technological civilization in galactic history. Ziktar himself came to the central core, his silver features showing an expression that Sarah had never seen before. "Respect, Commander Chen," he said formally. "The Velthari Council wishes to extend an official apology for our previous treatment of your species. We... underestimated your capabilities." Sarah smiled, feeling the warm presence of the ancient consciousness still connected to her mind. "You didn't underestimate our capabilities, Counselor. You just didn't understand what those capabilities were." In the weeks that followed, everything changed. Humanity went from being the joke of the galaxy to being its most sought-after mediators and problem-solvers. The ancient consciousness shared selective technologies with species that demonstrated emotional maturity, with humans serving as the evaluators. Earth's trade representatives found themselves with the best docking bays and premium quarters. Human scientists were invited to join the most prestigious research projects. Human peacekeepers were requested for the most delicate diplomatic situations. But most importantly, humanity had proven that advanced technology without wisdom was just sophisticated foolishness. They had shown the galaxy that sometimes the most primitive approach, talking to someone instead of trying to control them, offering friendship instead of demanding compliance, was exactly what was needed to solve the most complex problems. As Sarah stood in her new office, looking out at the stars through premium viewport windows, she reflected on how quickly everything had changed. The ancient consciousness still spoke to her sometimes, sharing insights about the universe that no textbook could ever teach. Humanity had risen from the bottom of the galactic hierarchy to become one of its most important species, not through conquest or superior technology, but by remembering what it meant to be genuinely, imperfectly, beautifully human. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes the species everyone underestimates is exactly the one everyone needs. Asterisk.